Hello, Nisreen.
Hello, Brian.
So,
Mm.
um, we've been talking about doing a podcast for some time now, and finally we've gotten to it. And so, I'm probably going to ask you a lot of questions that I actually don't know about you as well. So we can do a little bit of that. Um,
Sure.
so I guess the place to start with is in regards to spirituality and transformation and the human condition. People who are practitioners and interested in people having more joy in their life. Just a little bit of how you ended up, like what your journey was. Like, how did you start? What was your awakening moment, by the way?
I don't think there was one awakening moment for me. I think um, there were a
What was the first
few.
one? What was the one that was like really started you on your journey?
Trauma. Trauma is what started me on my journey. Um,
Yeah.
it uh, a
What,
series of traumas is what got me
yeah.
started. But once I decided to get a divorce and leave my ex-husband because that was a traumatic relationship for me.
Uh-huh.
And um, and then I started trying all these things and looking into transformation and healing and finding
Why?
different ways to
Why
reconnect
did
to
you do that?
myself. Why?
Yeah. Why did
Because I
you?
felt like I needed answers. I needed answers, and I had all of these questions, as in, why do I feel the way I do? Why do I think the way I do? Nothing makes sense. So I had this persistent sort of drive to find these answers, and I kept on looking and looking and looking and looking and looking. And one thing led me to another thing, which led me to another thing, which leads me to deeper research. And for instance, there would be a yearning to look into something, and then I'd look into it, but then it wouldn't call to me. But then something else would call to me, and that's eventually how I found what works for me and the answers. That I've been seeking, and generally you'll find and you'll start to pick up patterns. And I started putting together the puzzle that is my life through spiritual practices and wanting to understand why the things happened to me that I had experienced, and why I was feeling the way I was feeling, and why I was thinking the way I was thinking.
So in that journey, what was your when I say your awakening moment, I'm kind of pointing to the first aha, the first like, oh, okay, where you start, where you have a significant insight that there's a change from that point on in the rest of your life from what you used to do, and then there's this aha moment that really raises the game and raises the frequency, and that you're forever changed. Can you remember what that was?
uh, I kind of do, and it's yeah. Hmm.
You
I'm
seem a
trying to
little
think.
shy about that.
Yeah, because it's very personal,
Aha.
and yeah, it's
Well,
quite personal, and
what a better place to share the personal than live on the web.
uh,
Why not?
hmm. Um, uh, it was so I was repeating lots of cycles and lots of patterns in my life,
Yeah.
and a lot of them didn't make sense. And I as most people, write off or put the reasons behind their patterns and the way they are and their experiences and relationships with others, generally off to family. But I always felt like there was a missing piece. And the reason why I was the way I was, it wasn't making sense. Like this in my mind is like, this is how I am, and I feel like the depth of what I was lacked what I knew in terms of it being in relation to my relationships with my family, with my friends, with my siblings, my maternal and paternal relationships, and then also my marriage, previous marriage, and then I had a realization, or I should rather say, a repressed or suppressed trauma. Memories of it came to the surface,
Yeah.
and that was suppressed for about 32 years. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was my aha, now everything makes sense. The
Yeah.
patterns. And
Okay.
yeah. hmm So that's
And
what was the
so
biggest.
on the
Mm.
so on the what um how was your life easier? Like, that might not be what I refer to as an awakening moment, in the sense that it's really a sense of somebody's greatness. It's a sense of, in this case, it was an insight
Mm.
of, that what you might have been trapped by, um, or what was in the background that was having you make choices in your foreground that you weren't aware of, and that you might have been suppressed in particular ways. But what was like the aha of when you realized your worth, when you realized your value, when you realized that you weren't your history and your traumas or your mind and these kinds of things? So do you have a memory of that?
I think that for me is a continuous journey of having to learn and have those moments. But one that does stick out for me right now was a ayahuasca journey that I had done in Peru.
Yes.
And it was, I found myself having beautiful, meaningful, loving deep, meaningful conversations with myself about
Ah,
self-love,
yes.
um, which I had never really had before. And
Yes.
I had thanked myself for doing such a wonderful job of taking care of myself. And I felt that it never meant more to me. And I never, and I said it with like all of my heart, like, and I meant it. And
Yes.
so that was one of the
Yeah.
moments that
That's kind of what
I
I'm
had.
referring to in
Uh,
regards to an awakening moment. And to reflect back to you, what I heard was that you had allowed yourself and realized that you had great love for yourself, and you were reflecting
mm,
it back to yourself that you had done, in spite of everything, that you had done a good job of taking care of yourself, and that, being able to acknowledge and feel that, the good person that you are, the greatness that you are. So yeah, that's what I'm referring to.
yeah.
Okay. So you talked about an ayahuasca ceremony and going to Peru. So just to back up a
hmm
little bit, what
hmm
what possessed you to what captured your attention to go to Peru in the first place?
Plant medicine and learning from medicine women, medicine men, and shamans and shamanic practices, and what better
What
country to go to than Peru?
yeah, what got you onto that? What brought you to the plant medicines before you got to the where you were going? And that
Mm.
what brought you to plant medicine, and what brought you to shamanic, even the shamanic experience? What brought you there?
I was seeking healing, seeking spirituality, seeking wisdom. And I
And what did you
felt
find?
that I just, after more than a decade of Western medicine and Eastern medicine, so to speak, and searching and searching and searching and literally doing everything I could, I still felt like something was missing, which is why I'm always searching. I generally go on my gut, on my intuition,
Yes.
and that's where it pointed me to, and I felt like that was the missing piece for me,
Okay.
the missing piece of the puzzle,
So how did
and
you
I
know
just,
that? What was your introduction to plant medicine? And that
I
you
just,
went, like, were
uh
you running on instinct?
yes,
Ah,
I,
you were running
I was
completely on instinct. And then you
completely on,
hadn't done
in,
it yet, and you went to Peru based on a feeling. Wow.
yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. So
Um,
was it? Mhm.
I wanted to do plant medicine, but um, I wanted to do plant medicine in perhaps South Africa just because. But then I got this hunch of like, let's just go there, and I just knew. And even though there were tons of people trying to give me advice, saying research this, like I knew what ayahuasca was, I knew what certain of the plant medicines, what they were about. But I just felt with every single bone in my body that that's what I needed to do. And that's what I
Okay.
invested in. Once I decided that that's what I needed to do, I just did that. I
Wow.
just focused on that.
So,
Uh-huh.
so when you landed in Peru,
Mm-hmm.
what was your experience between landing and being slightly disoriented, and either it met your expectation or it didn't, just as arriving, and then what led you to a tribe, and your before your indoctrination started, or before you started working with anybody, right up to that point, when from the point that you landed to the point that you ended up, just before your teachings, what happened there?
I was exhausted. Oh, I was exhausted. My luggage was lost, and all I was trying to do was acclimatize to different time zones. It was
Yeah,
freezing. It was freezing there. The
yeah.
same, they're in the same sort of temperature and seasonal changes to South Africa. So that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to prepare myself for what was coming so I could be like in the moment and ready and open to receive everything that I needed to receive and sort of get my luggage, which was love.
Yeah.
And it took me 24 hours of flying to get there.
Yes.
More than 24 hours. Actually, wait. It, yeah, it took me 9 hours plus 16 hours plus another 3 hours, excluding several Yeah, I think I flew for 2 days um,
Yeah.
to get
So
there.
then, so then what happened? How did you find where you were going, and what was that
Oh,
kind of?
as in, when you say that, you mean before I actually got to Peru to find out who I was going to do it with or do my learnings with? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I'm assuming that you found the people there.
Some of them I found there, and some of them I had prearranged
Oh,
before I
okay.
left. The strange thing is, when I was still working in corporate, I somehow came across the website of a group of people, and I was like, oh, one day I really want to go to one of their trainings. And when I decided to do plant medicine and I started just doing research for like South America, Peru, da 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 da, it like just came up to me, Peru, and that's what I did. Like a little, you ask for guidance and then you'll get the messages, is what I'm saying,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's up to you to just listen to. And thank God I was listening to
Yes.
those messages. And then I found these people again. So I feel like I've manifested that, if I must be honest. And I
Yeah.
started asking them questions and about it because it was a 300-hour yoga teacher training with shamanism, and so they teach you different shamanic practices, and you also work with the plant medicine and prepare the plant medicine and things like
All
that.
within the same course.
Yeah, and
Oh,
then but the basics of it, and then I also wanted to work more with the medicines. And then I started speaking to one of the teachers, and then they connected me with another like plant medicine course after that.
okay. And when you said the
So,
medicines, are you just speaking solely of ayahuasca or other medicines?
so it would be rape or hape, as some people like to call it.
Yeah.
Washima or San Pedro being the more Western name, and then ayahuasca and cacao.
Aha.
Mm.
Okay. And that so what struck you about the teachings? Like what brought you to um, what made an impact on you, and what did you get out of all those experiences, and how did they fit together? Like the hape, the ayahuasca, San Pedro, and the cacao.
Okay, so if so, the nice thing about the way they did their training was based in terms of how things, ancient teachings of Peru with the lower world, middle world, and upper world. So they would link the different medicines to the different parts of the course and then also prepare you in that. So, for instance, ayahuasca was more done towards the end of the middle world and the beginning of the upper world, because the upper world connects you to spirits. And then Washuma was done at the end of the lower world and the beginning to the middle world, because it's a cactus. So it connects you to Mother Earth, or Pachamama as they prefer to call it. And then that's how they also connected you to the plant medicine. But what was nice was, before we actually did the plant medicine journeys, for instance, with the washumas, we would prepare. So we each got the cactus. We learned about the cactus. We learned how to connect to the cactus, and we started like peeling it, preparing it, cutting it, replanting the bits, the end bits, so that they can regrow for whoever's going to come, and then offer the washuma journeys. For instance, the ayahuasca, we would prepare with meditating with the raw vines, before they take them off the trees, and learn about the plants, and go on a dieta to prepare our bodies and our minds with meditations and things like that. So there was a lot of that type of work done in support of connecting to the medicine. Cacao and rape is way more gentle, so that was introduced as and when throughout the entire program. Yeah, for me, each medicine came with, and each journey came with a really great healing, transformative lessons, and that was the main reasons why I had gone to Peru. I was in search of what those lessons were, and that knowledge that those plants were ready to offer me.
Yes. Is there a connection, like that's kind of a little bit of the overview of the
Mm.
teachings, and but a little bit more of your experience is that
Mm-hmm.
the specifically of how they, like, if you could put any kind, I know it's difficult to do this kind of stuff, but if you could connect how cacao and San Pedro and ayahuasca and the hape are related to your personal experience. Like how did, like, what order, what you found this one had more of this kind of experience to it, and how they fit together for you?
Um, okay, let me try to answer that. So for me, rapé is very grounding, a grounding medicine. So it just brings you back down to earth. And if you feel like perhaps, and this is also again, is for everybody's personal experience. So it does change. So what I'm saying is not really, may
Yeah,
not happen.
for your experience.
Okay, so for me, rapé is tobacco, and it's tobacco grounded into powdered form. And I don't, for me, that strangely enough was the one medicine I was mostly afraid of because it gets blown up into your nose.
Yes,
And
kind of like
generally, yeah.
uh-huh.
And I don't like that feeling, and I didn't like tobacco, and I generally just like froze, and whenever, and then I freeze and you forget to breathe, and the whole everything in life is about breath, as we all know. So
Yeah.
that for me is still a medicine that I don't do often, but people like to do it. But it has great qualities during all of the other medicines, except perhaps cacao, to like do when you just need some grounding and to get back down to earth and to mellow out.
Uh-huh. Is that really the only
um,
real use for it for you, is just to ground if you need it? Or does it
yeah.
add anything to your experience that
I
is
also,
other than grounding if you need it?
okay, so I would generally also do a rapé to sort of cleanse the mind and to get clarity in sort of also your third eye chakra
Uh-huh.
before Washuma journeys, and or during during a Washuma journey, as well as ayahuasca before and after. And
Uh-huh.
it's also recommended to do that. It grounds you, it helps you to connect back down to earth, and sort of gives you a sense of clarity. And depending on the type of rapé you're doing, there's obviously different flavors and different feels. And I've only found one or two that I really, really enjoyed the feeling of. I think rapé can definitely be an acquired taste for many.
Yes. To say the
Um,
least, literally.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. And
Washuma. Mm,
just for clarity's
yeah.
sake, is
Mm.
that San Pedro and so you're talking about the same thing, San Pedro and
Washuma, San Pedro is the same
that's
thing. So San
Hape, and what do you call it? What's the other word?
Rape,
Hape.
Rape.
Yeah,
Hmm.
just for
So
clarity for
Rape or
people.
Hape is the tobacco that's ground down into the powder form and blown up into your nose with I'm gonna just call it an applicator now because I forget the
It's
name.
like a bamboo tube. It's really
Yes, I actually do
yeah.
have it here, but I'm gonna have to get up and go to another room. Yeah,
Okay,
but I actually have it
and
with
then
me.
so then
And Washuma and
San Pedro.
San Pedro is the same thing. So Washuma, San Pedro is the Spanish name because they colonized Peru and most of South America, and then they renamed the plant. So this is a cactus, and it gets
Uh-huh.
boiled down into a very gooey aloe vera or aloe looking type drink. And it I quite enjoy this medicine. It did a lot for me. It helped me to release a lot of things and to connect to things that I needed to connect to on a deeper level.
Just out
Each
of
time,
curiosity,
mm-hmm,
were you mostly doing San Pedro in the day and ayahuasca at
yes,
night?
San
Okay,
Pedro
so
only in
that's
the
good.
day and
And
ayahuasca only at night.
and
Yes,
what was
sorry.
the and how would you compare them,
Mm.
like the differences between them, like experientially?
Okay. So the nice thing about washuma is it's a cactus you drink in the day. You walk around in nature. You need to do a physical activity to activate the medicine. But a nice way of explaining it is you basically are vibrating on the same frequency as the plants and the trees you are surrounded by. because that's what it does. It connects you to Mother Nature, and it's like you've never seen plants or trees or grass or moss or algae ever before in your life. You have a new appreciation for trees and the finer details and the beauty of a tree, that you will intensely look at the bark and the leaves and the roots and where it comes from and its energies and what it provides you with. And because you're doing that, you get in you get a new appreciation, a deepened sense of appreciation for Mother Nature. And it's like these trees and plants are like, you are all together, you are one, just, yeah, you are one. It's like, how could you ever see yourself separate from the earth before?
Just to
And it,
reiterate that,
mhm,
part of what I heard you
and
say,
it makes
and
you
adding
super
in
happy.
my
Mm.
experience to it it's kind of like that when you're looking at the plants and the grass and the moss and is that it's kind of like you said from an energetic place, but it's kind of like they're vibrating and they come alive in a way that is really quite amazing. And being able to then further connect your energy and the vibration that you are is that it's even though it's different, you can see
Mm-hmm.
the connection or the oneness or the sharing of that frequency back and forth in a really sense of belonging and a sense of oneness, and it's and a
Yes.
sense of wonder, just to be able to see that frequency. It's just really quite amazing. Okay.
And it's like you've been together all this time and you never knew it. It's like, and you feel so supported and so held by the earth, by these trees, by Mother Nature, and in that sense also safe,
Uh-huh.
because this earth has provided you with this medicine. This earth has provided you with everything that you basically have:
Yes.
food, shelter, medicine, and that's how you just feel so connected. And you wonder why you have never felt that way before or seen it
Yes.
before. So
And why would you say
and
so?
it's
Now
there
answering your
all
own
the
question.
time.
Now
Sorry.
answering your own question. Why
Mm-hmm.
don't we? Why don't we see that?
I think it's because that's what the plant medicine does. It's
Uh-huh.
mescaline, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, or mescaline, and it basically helps us in that sense by heightening that state and
Right. So raising
remove
one's
some of
frequency.
the layers of the ego,
Yeah.
I guess.
In raising one's frequency to be able to see
Mm,
these energies, do you think that it's
mm.
possible to do it on your own at some point? You might have to learn how to raise your frequency, but do you think it's possible to have the same experience without the plants?
Hmm. I don't, to a certain extent, but it's going to be a different experience. I think you can always be connected to the oneness and with the source, so to speak, or the divine, but that takes work and commitment and dedication of like meditation and breath work and committed to your spiritual practices, of course, but
Of,
and a
of
certain
raising your
appreciate, yeah,
right.
and a certain appreciation. So but if you're looking for something to connect you to that within on that day without having to build up your practice and be committed in that sense, um, then you would need help with washima. Yeah, but I think it's great and an eye opener of what the possibilities and the potential that is out there and what actually does exist. I think that is great because then you at least know what it is that you've been missing out on, or you haven't seen because you have blinders over your eyes, so to speak.
Mm. I interrupted you answering. So you talked about the San Pedro, and the original question is, what is the difference? So in contrast to the San Pedro and the vibrating of the plants and the experience of oneness, how would you characterize ayahuasca in comparison?
So ayahuasca is something that's only done at night. So if they teach you about the plants, they teach you about Washuma or San Pedro being the grandfather of medicines, of plant medicines, and they teach you that ayahuasca is the grandmother. So she's a vine that grows on the trees, and the grandfather, he's this succulent, beautiful cactus. So he's very like loving and nourishing and soft and hand holding, with this grandmother. She's there, she's going to be teaching you lessons. So that journey is, for some, harder and more tougher and more difficult on the body, and also sometimes scarier than Washuma to do.
What do you mean?
So
what do you mean by scarier?
Yeah, I'm getting there. So ayahuasca is something that can only be done at night, because all your senses become super sensitive in a different way to Washuma. But Washuma, your senses also become heightened. But ayahuasca, has to be done in the dark, because you can't actually handle the light. And you purge. The purging in ayahuasca, is a little bit more tending towards throwing up or going to the loo. That can happen with Washuma, but not as much. Like, you may just purge once or twice, but with ayahuasca, you're gonna want to have that bucket ready, because she really goes deep with you. And Washuma, he's so gentle in the way he holds your hand, and whereas ayahuasca, she's like, are you fighting me? And no, if you fight me, I'm going to make this harder for you. So she doesn't hold your hand. She's like, boom, this is the lesson. I know you asked for another lesson, because before every journey, you have an intention, and you just ask, this is my intention, please, if you can, whatever, accept or show me how, and then you let it go. And they generally show you whatever it is that you need to, and you'll see it's generally the right one. So the vomiting, or purging, throwing up, is a lot with ayahuasca. And I remember my first ayahuasca ceremony, and when they say just submit to the medicine, just let go and just allow yourself to purge. And purging can be throwing up, it can be going to the loo, it could be you could be shivering, like being really, really cold, or you could be super, super, super hot. You could have the yawns. With all of this is your body changing up the energies, and you letting go of all the things and the lessons. And my first ayahuasca journey, I felt like I was going in and out of it. Like, I felt like I was present, but I was in a different, almost like I was sleeping, but I wasn't sleeping. And at some point, I was getting so cold, and I had 4 blankets on me, and it wasn't enough. Like, I was shivering to death, and I wanted to get up to move my arm to put a blanket over it. But I felt like I was fighting the ayahuasca during that. And she was like, oh, this was obviously what was going in my mind. Oh, you're fighting this? No. And I literally, my whole body felt paralyzed. Because I was like, no, don't tell me, I'm gonna da 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 da. And she's like, this is not what grandmother's saying. Grandmother will let you take that blanket when grandmother says it's okay to take. And the minute I said, okay, it was just like that. It was a minute where I was like, okay, now I can get the blanket. Now you can move. Now you can do this. Now you can. And it's super intense. That journey is super intense. And to some degree, because it feels like, oh my God, what's happening? And you can feel the medicine going through your body. You can feel it when it's starting to happen. It's like you get these sensations, and I didn't get that with washuma, but you get it with ayahuasca. Um, and and the throwing up is, sometimes it feels like it's coming from the pit of your stomach and the pit of like your soul, because the sounds that you make sometimes when you're throwing up, and the sounds that people who are sharing ceremony with you as well, that also what they make when they're throwing up. And then you also get these beautiful, like, and you think of things, or you have conversations, or you have visions. And in that sense, it's super intense, because it's like she brings you down and she forces you to like go there. Whereas washuma is like, let's walk through the forest. Let's come and hold your hand. Look at this tree. Smell that piece of lavender. And you just like, ah. Where the grandmother ayahuasca is like, this is what is going to happen. I'm going to do it now. And that's it. You don't have a choice. And you're just at the mercy of her medicine, where washuma, you just like, yes.
Okay, just to be in my experiences in contrast is San Pedro is a little bit more demanding of me than ayahuasca is. I generally like it actually, to be whole, to be, it requires me to have attention on all of me. So there's I have to put a little bit more effort into it. And as far as purging goes, it happens usually once, about 2 hours after the consumption, and it's a very uneventful. There's a grumble and a little bit of upset, and then I'm done with it. But it does require a little bit more effort for me. But ayahuasca is like a dream for me. I've not one time have I purged with ayahuasca. And it's just like it's like vacation. It's like coming home to grandma's house to me. So it really is. So there is a bit of a contrast with that.
Yeah.
Different people have different experiences of these things, but there are generalizations that work.
I have purged on washuma before. I have, but then afterwards, I'm like, I'm all good now. I just feel the purging is way more gentle with washuma than it is with ayahuasca. But again, person dependent.
Yes. Yeah, because I did, like, when I've done iboga ceremony as well, and some people, the entire night they're purging. And sometimes with ayahuasca as well, the entire night people are purging. I didn't. I've only done that once or twice, and I didn't purge with that one either. That one was fairly easy on me as well. Okay, so just to move away from now to the benefits. Like, what are the benefits?
Oh, I never spoke about cacao.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll do that last. So just now we've got ayahuasca and San Pedro on the table, the cactus. So what is, like, we talked a lot about, that the preamble of what you do to get there, the cleansing in your body, the meditations. We talked about that once you've consumed it, that there's sometimes some reconciling that, through regurgitating. And then, so what about the benefits of those things? Is that because all of that is a very small part of the process, and then the larger part of the process is when you are with the plant. So if you could describe the value of that for you, and kind of like experientially what that looks and feels like?
For me, all plants are healing.
Uh-huh.
I feel like the earth gives us everything that we need. And if you're looking for alternatives to antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication, I really feel plants are the way to go. And I feel that they offer you so much wisdom and so much healing. And for me, that's really is very much of what they did. They also help you to connect to parts of yourself that you need help in connecting to, and help you to realize things. And they go into your body and do that. Whereas for me, and I can say this because everybody has tried a chemical and substance of some sort. And when I say that, I mean whether it could be a painkiller, an antidepressant, a Xanax,
Or alcohol.
or alcohol, possibly for because they're running away from things, they need to suppress things, they need help with things, and this is just a wonderful natural way of taking the earth's resources to do what you need to do. So it's super healing and spiritual, and helps you to connect to your truth on a level by going into the body and sensing what you need. And that's what I've gotten from the medicine.
So to put into my words is that the
Mm,
experience is um, there's energy is lifted and is really moving through my body in a pleasant way.
yeah.
There's
Mm-hmm.
visions and insights that I get by thinking or feeling that reveal something to me about me and my life. The word that you used is healing, so that that
Mm.
insight opens a door for me in a way that I can allow myself to be more me, or that I see something that's been a blind spot to date, or that there
Or a
is
vision quest.
uh-huh. Tell me about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what does the vision quest look like? What's the benefit of a vision quest and what does it feel like?
No, so if you're looking for answers, or you're looking for creativity, or you feel stuck, I feel like ayahuasca or washroom, I can do that. I was just giving a different name to what you said.
Oh,
Um,
okay. A lot of
mhm.
people,
So,
when they refer to vision quest, it's more it's more than a day. Like it's, a day
mm,
and a night at the very least, and oftentimes a few days out in nature. And a vision quest, when you go out into nature and experience the what you do with the plants, but also it's like what animals that you see or what insects that you see. And there's a teaching that comes certainly from the North American Aboriginals, indigenous, that they would do vision quests to be able to get their answers and whatever animals that they came across and what the lesson was from that animal. So, and a vision quest can also be is that you start seeing things, that you start having the insights into what you need to be able to heal or move forward in your life in some kind of way,
yeah.
which is
So,
usually really an accelerated way than normal.
mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess it does depend on everybody's perception and understanding of that. But I feel that
What would
that's
you call it? What is
also,
yours?
it depends on how deep you want to go. But if you're just looking for answers and you're quite broad about it, and you decide, okay, so today I'm
What
gonna
about
go.
you though? What was your experience as opposed to other people in regards to your definition to a vision quest? And when you went in, what did that look like?
I just, for me, my vision quest of late, or when I went, was reinforcement, or more realization, or signs and messages of my purpose, and my passion, and what it is I'm meant to be doing in this life. And I feel like all of that was tied into it, and it was also highlighted is what I'm going to say and re-brought to my attention by and with plant medicine. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so
It's like I kind of
another
already
question
knew
is,
it. Sorry.
the next question I have is that just apart that the teacher plants are not recreational drugs. It's not it's not something that anybody's going to do for fun, and that we can
No.
start with first of all. So there's two things: the consuming of it, like what it tastes like, and what that's like, and then why you wouldn't do it as a recreational party thing. Why is it not those?
Okay. So I'll start with the why. Okay, what it tastes like. So a
Yeah.
shumer tastes green and gooey, and sometimes it's so slimy and it makes you want to hurl the minute you drink it. And what they tell us is that when you drink it and you're gonna throw it up, then it wasn't meant to go or stay inside your body. And that makes you want to be like, no, stay, please. I want you to stay with me more. So it's not great. So what I would say is imagine drinking aloe vera gel. So that can't be great. And for me, ayahuasca tastes like cough medicine, but like the not nice tasting maroon, like almost like deep red wine looking cough medicine. And both of it, when you drink it, it doesn't taste great. And I've had people that are like,
Yeah.
and we're all like, no, keep it down. So that's why
And why is it not?
I wouldn't. So I've done journeys with people that were constantly comparing the plant medicine journey, and this is what they were saying. I don't feel anything yet. No, wait, I think I feel something. Oh, no, wait, I'm coming on. I think it's now. I think it's happening. And why that for me was upsetting is because it takes away the beauty of what plant medicine does and the respect that you have, or the respect that the plants deserve, because they aren't here for recreational activities. They're here for deep spiritual and healing reasons, and therefore that is not recreational. So if you don't respect that medicine or respect that plant in the way it deserves, it means that you aren't respecting the cultures and the work that you need to do and the work that the earth is doing for us. And so for me, that is important, that you respect the medicine and you respect the culture and you respect what the medicine is doing for you, because I feel that what the medicine is doing for you is so amazing and so good, and people don't appreciate that. And I feel like it's just in terms of the mindset is that they aren't there yet and possibly still need to go on their journey to realize what it is that they need to do, and how great the earth is in terms of being able to provide us with that.
My words for that is it's not really it's really useful. The utility is useful for introspection and letting go and surrendering and experiencing all that is around you in a new way and yourself. And why it's not recreational is that it doesn't really lend itself to, you know, going to a party, or certainly not a festival.
It's not going to be the
It's not that
same.
kind of experience. So it's not that. So it's not something. It's not a party thing. And then the other side of that, for the people that don't know, go ahead.
I said the experience is
that
definitely not going to be the same. You
or
can't be taking
possibly not
any
very
of it.
pleasant.
Yeah, and it's also going to make you anti the medicine, and everybody shares
Yeah.
experiences, and then you're gonna share your experience with someone else who hasn't done it, and they're gonna have a
Yeah.
negative feeling based on your experience to something that is actually beautiful.
Right. It's becoming so popularized now that I think people pretty much know that there's something powerful going on there that's useful. So the other thing is about it being a recreational drug, that it's not a recreational drug, and some people think it's a drug, is that, you know, how often would you recommend, or how often do you recommend for yourself to take ayahuasca or San Pedro?
I think that that's really dependent on your body, and the person and your journeys. And I know some people can do ayahuasca ceremonies consecutively for a few nights, but it does take a toll on your body. I wouldn't
Yes.
do it. I wouldn't do it for 7 nights straight in a row. No.
Well, how
But
many times did you, in spite of the, like, what happens in Peru, it happens in other places in the world,
yeah.
and that if it's like, you know, I'm kind of contrasting it against this, is that, you know, if I do a plant, you know, some years I might do it once, a plant, and some years I might do two, you know, twice, and some years I don't do it at all. So it's enough. It's not something that you're seeking to do on a regular basis. There's enough to direction and enough to unpack. You know, twice a year would be a lot for me. Have speaking of it in that kind of way, would you concur, or what's your experience?
I guess it also depends on, I think for me, and again, I know because I've mentioned earlier that I also go according to my intuition and my gut. And
Yes.
I did it a few more times than the people that I met that were there, and we all just became friends. But
Yeah.
I felt like there was something saying, you need to do another ceremony. You need to do another ceremony. And so I kept on doing another ceremony, and every time I learned new lessons. And then on my last one, it was like, you don't need to do any more ceremonies. So it also does depend on what it is that you're learning and how
Right.
you
So
feel
here's my
you're being
question.
called to do the medicine, and if the medicine is calling you. But you need to be open to that, and you would also know that, look, and this is what some of them said, like, I don't feel like my body could handle another ceremony. So then you need to also know how to respect that, and say, okay, great, it's not my time. I will go and do the next one.
Right.
So I feel it
So
really does depend on the person.
since the last time that you did it, where you were like, okay, now you don't need to do anymore, how long ago was that?
Ayahuasca,
Yes.
that was last year,
Yeah.
October. Yeah,
So
October.
about
But for what? Yeah.
so it's about 9 months, and that in that 9 months, is it still unpacking? You mean it's not something you need to do on a regular basis? It was
It's
enough for
not,
you to keep unpacking.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't say at this very moment, but there was one or two moments last year that I was like thinking about ayahuasca a lot, like a lot, and the
Yes.
lessons that I'd learned, and I was like, is this ayahuasca calling me? You know, but then again, there were times when I was like, I need to do washuma. I know I need to do washuma. I feel like I have these energies that I need to unblock and let go of, and I need some clarity and clearance and direction. And I really need to do washuma. So I went and I did washuma journeys. And also I feel like that's just an easier medicine to access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And so
so that was since October. Has it been once for San Pedro?
twice.
Twice. Yeah, so the point of it isn't every weekend. It's not,
Mm-mm.
it has its own schedule. But it's really that there's enough going on with it that it has a lasting effect. So it's not something
Yes.
that you're going to be seeking out every other weekend. That's not how that works.
No.
Okay, and then lastly, if we can come to the cacao ceremony, how
Yes.
are you introduced to it? What kind of impact did it make on you? And like, what is the feeling that you get from it? What is the impact? How does it make a difference in your life?
I love, okay, I'll say why I love cacao. I love cacao because number one, it's chocolate. Who doesn't love chocolate?
There you go.
Um, and the thing is, you're just happy eating any chocolate. So imagine how happy you would be if you ate raw 100% unprocessed chocolate. And it's been proven that this cacao, that raw cacao, has so many benefits, including serotonin, oxytocin, and these are like the hormones, the natural hormones and chemicals we already have in our body. So we have over 300 of those that it gets released when you drink a ceremonial. Now, not the cacao that you're buying at Wellness Warehouse that you put in your smoothies. It's a different grade because
Yes.
people often confuse this. So there's a
Yes.
ceremonial grade and you have to drink a ceremonial dose to have this experience. And one of the feelings that you experience when drinking a ceremonial amount of cacao is the feeling of being birthed. So that would be men once, and women when they give birth or being birthed. So you are so happy and you are so joyous because it's released all the happy hormones, and the happy hormones are connected to the love hormones. So it
Uh-huh.
activates that's within your body already. So that's released into your body. And so you just feel so happy and you feel connected to your heart
Yeah.
through this love and through this happiness. And it is so gentle in the way that it does that. And for me, that's why I love it, because of the reconnection to the heart space. And I find that I get a lot of clarity when I'm doing it, but in a different light, and a lot of creativity um, that I'm looking for. And when I do cacao, it sort of releases me and opens up my heart. And instead of you always having all this self-doubt about, no, I can't do this, no, I can't do that, no, I'm not great at doing this. And I find that when I'm doing cacao, I'm just so free flowing in the moment, and my layers of ego just dissipate, and I'm just embrace what it has to give me. And that's why I absolutely love cacao. And it's so gentle, and it happens, and then she just trickles away when it fades. Yeah.
So, and that you've, what have you learned leading cacao ceremonies? How does that make a difference in your life? What have you learned, and what do you enjoy about sharing that with others?
Okay. So why I enjoy sharing cacao with people, because it's so easy to connect with people through chocolate, and I find that they will be more open to it. And people that I share cacao with is generally their first ceremony. And so, that for me is special, because I'm sharing something that's so sacred, that has been used by Mayan cultures, and I'm helping you to reconnect to your heart, to reconnect to that place of love. And so that's important. And now it's your first experience with cacao. So that's also great. And during the ceremonies, I generally theme it on around something, and then I use the theme and the cacao to help you maybe reflect or release or manifest and I sing songs and I smudge, and I love smudging because it really helps with the energy, and it also changes your energy because you're now all like love, 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 and it helps you to meditate better, and it helps you to move your body better, and you just have access to all these things that you never had access to in such a nice, happy, loving community way. And cacao helps you to do that.
How
And
long?
that's my
Go ahead.
experience. No, and that's generally what I experienced during and everybody's just like, ah. And it's a 3 hour. I generally do it for 3 hours, and people are like, what, 3 hours? And then when it ends, they were like, is it over?
Yeah.
Why does it need to end? And that's the niceness about cacao.
That's what I was about to ask you is how long, and then how many people do you, what's ideal for you?
Ideal for me in terms of the amounts of people.
Yes. How many people is an ideal amount of people to have in your ceremony? Between where and where?
I've done ceremonies with 8 people, and I've done ceremonies for up to 35 people.
And what do you prefer?
I prefer groups of, I think I prefer groups of around 20. I felt the 35 was a little bit much because I couldn't give everybody, you don't get as much attention during
Yes.
a 35-person group. I
Yes.
feel like the 20-person group is great, and then the 8-person group, I feel like everybody's like staring at me and all eyes on me. But I also like it because then I can give you individualized attention. But not many people like it when they get individualized
Yes.
attention, if
Or
that
too much.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So generally, the last few ceremonies that I've done were around 20 people. So that's
Okay.
what I'm used to. Yeah.
So in South Africa, what would you charge for a cacao ceremony?
350 rand for
Generally,
3 hours.
how much?
Sorry, 350.
350. And are you planning one in the near future?
Well, that is dependent. Of course, I would like to say yes, but that is dependent on our current situation of
Situation. Well,
lockdown.
we would
And
love to
as
host
in,
you. If you'd like to do it at the source, we'll host you. And as soon as we're allowed to go outside and play, we
yeah.
will promote you to do that. So do you think you're going to do it like, closer to the end of the year? Or would you like to do it as soon as we're able to get out?
To be honest, I think probably somewhere in between that, because there's still going to be lots of caution and precaution that people are going to take about going out and being there. And I like to offer it when it feels good when I know that it feels good and I feel connected to the medicine. And I don't want anything else to impact the beauty of the medicine when I offer it, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. So
Because I
just
want
from my
people
side,
to receive that beauty, and not be like, oh, stressing, does she have COVID? That's just
yeah, no, I understand it.
that's gonna ruin the journey. And you sort of also looking at everybody's faces during the ceremony, you can see when people aren't in it.
Yeah, it's usually the right people show up. The people that are
Mm-hmm.
showing up to ceremony, I think, are going to be less fearful. I'm already not fearful. So I'm sure that people are going to start coming out soon, or more so.
Mm-hmm.
And just from my side, that, of the, I haven't known you for that long. It was only this year, I believe, that I've met you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that it was last year, but it's my experience of you is just that you really are kind, and that you have had profound experiences of the plants, and specifically the cacao that you offer. and that there's no psychedelic or psychotropic experience with cacao. So it's really gentle and beautiful to be able to have, and there's a safety net there in the sense that, it's very normal experiencing. You don't need any special talent or ability to navigate some of the other plants. And so, in my experience of you, is that you generally really want to be able to share this experience that you've had with other people so that they could actually open up in their life and experience a deeper energy and be able to be happier and more connected to self. So
Yes.
I recommend you, and I look forward to your first ceremony. I've done cacao ceremonies before, but I haven't done yours, and I haven't done a 3-hour one. So I'm looking forward to that, and in our space would make it just that much more special for me. So thank you very
Yay.
much. Any last words?
I'm thinking. No.
Good.
No.
I'm glad you're thinking.
No other last. Well, I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm excited to be sharing the cacao ceremonies. And any of my other offerings that I would be sharing with the source or doing at the source. I'm quite.
Yeah, I forgot that you also do one-on-ones, and there's other things that you offer with people, and being able to provide guidance for them to apply what they've learned in their ceremonies to be able to go, how do I operationalize this? How do I utilize my experience to my best ends? So is there anything else I might not know of all the things that you offer? Is there anything else that you do?
Yeah, yes, I'm very excited. I've been working really hard because we haven't had a catch up. I'm going to be releasing an offering soon for an online healing circles that will be focused on women and domestic violence, gender-based violence, and intimate partner violence.
Yes.
It will be an 8-week program focusing on that and how to heal that, or if you are, so obviously it's for women, but for women who've experienced that, who think they are experiencing it and don't actually know, unless it's because it isn't actually physical violence. And then for women who just want to know more so that they can support other women that are going through that experience. So it's a very hands-on from a place of understanding and compassion, and yeah, that's what that's going to be. And then there's also going to be
Do you know when that's going to start?
Yeah, end of August. End of August is where I'm aiming, but I will probably start putting out the word by the end of July. Start marketing that via Instagram and social media. I'll start marketing that, but the actual online healing circle will start end of August because it coincides with Women's Day, which is on the 9th of August, South African Women's Day, but it's actually a global online healing circle.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Beautiful.
it's something that I feel, it's something that is super close to my heart, and it's something that I feel very called to do of late. And it's something that I've put off for a while, and I'm like, no, now's the time. And yeah, so there will also be a lot of other support, holding space, coaching type, mentoring, other programs that will follow after that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Excellent. So is there any place that we can direct people to find you?
At the moment, yeah. It's at the moment, the only thing that it is up and running. The other things are still under construction, such as the websites, but Instagram is the only thing that I have up and running.
And what's your
Instagram handle? It's
yep,
Anahata. So Anahata021.
how do
Anahata
you
as in
spell
the
that?
heart, as in the heart chakra. So that's ANAHATA and 021 because of our telephone code.
Well, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for spending this time with me, and we'll do this again soon as things develop.
Yeah. Okay, great. I'm looking
Thank you
forward
much, dear.
to the ceremony
Yes.
soon, I hope.
Watch this space.